Thanks for visiting naunews.org, bringing you another North American Union update. In my last video, I demonstrated that the North American Union agenda did not die when the SPP was dissolved. In fact, the governments of Canada, the United States, and Mexico have been busy implementing the suggestions made by the SPP. In that video, I focused on a document created by the CFR and the Canadian Council of Chief Executives, the CCCE, and their recommendation to create a common security perimeter for North America by the year 2010. The creation of this common security perimeter is key to establishing a North American Union, or as they like to refer to it as, a North American community. Their goal is to thin out the borders between Canada, the United States, and Mexico internally and focus on a North American security perimeter, which they claim is absolutely necessary in order to speed up the flow of goods and people across our national borders post 9/11. The question then becomes, how do they plan on doing this? How do they plan on actually thinning out the borders between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, and eventually dissolving them altogether, at a time when they're trying to sell us on the fact that we must give up our rights and freedoms because there could be some terrorist threat hiding behind any bush, and that if we see something, we should say something? Are we to believe that less inspections at our borders equals more security? Are we also to believe that less cargo inspections at our inland ports and trade corridors equals more security? I would think not. So how do they plan on maintaining any kind of level of security? Well, they plan to do that via technology. Technologies like biometrics, like RFID. We already have Predator drones patrolling the Canada-US border territories equipped with human tracking technology. All the existing security cameras in the Canada, the United States, and Mexico can be easily adapted to use biometric technology to track and monitor all people in North America in real time. And that's exactly what they plan on doing, according to a CTV leaked document on the Beyond the Borders Agreement, where they mentioned they plan to track all travelers in North America in real time. With a security agenda of this nature, and as found in the Beyond the Borders Agreement, it's easy to see that this is going to be a monumental task on behalf of the governments of Canada, the United States, and Mexico. They are going to have to seek outside help in order to implement such a system. So it's the globalist military-industrial complex to the rescue. On September 12th and 13th in Detroit, Michigan, the government and industry will host the U.S.-Canada Border Conference, sponsored so far by Raytheon and Access Communications, an event that I've dubbed the NAU New World Order Expo 2013. Get your tickets now. Sovereignty is going fast. If you're interested in implementing the North American Union agenda, you should plan to attend. Some of the partners and sponsors, again, are Raytheon, Access Communications, Asian Military Review, Canadian Security, Government Security News, Homeland Security Newswire. All the guys will be there. And if we take a look at exhibitors, exhibitor profiles, access control, armor products, armored vehicles, barriers, biohazard detection systems, biometric products and services, command and control systems, control monitors, documentation authentication systems, electronic identification systems, electro-optic imaging, entry-exit screening systems, fingerprinting technology, GPS systems, guards and bomb-sniffing dogs, intelligence sharing, intrusion detection systems, law enforcement training, motion detectors, perimeter protection, radar systems, rugged terrain vehicles, scanning systems, surveillance cameras, systems integration, unmanned area vehicles, unmanned ground vehicles, voice recognition systems. That's just a great group of technologies there for human tracking. I like this one, like I mentioned, biometric products and services. The advisory board. We have Former Commissioner, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Former Acting Commissioner, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Former Commissioner, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Former Deputy Commissioner of Federal Services and Central Region, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Former National Deputy Chief, U.S. Border Patrol. Prince William County Police Chief. Former President, Canada Border Services Agency. Major General, USAF, retired former Assistant Commissioner, Air and Marine, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Department of Homeland Security. Former Assistant Director, Seattle Office of Field Operations, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Former Director, CBP Academy, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. Rear Admiral, U.S. Coast Guard, retired former Director, Joint Task Force. Vice Admiral, U.S. Coast Guard. And last but not least, the Canadian-American Border Trade Alliance. So you have a nice group of professionals that are going to be there to lend their advice on lots of different products and services our government can take advantage of to track and monitor us for when they dissolve our internal borders, a security that is necessarily required. Who should attend? Attendees. Who should attend this all-important event? The ATF, Canada Border Services Agency, the Canadian Army, Canadian Coast Guard, Canadian Rangers, Canadian Security Intelligence Services, the CIA, Corporate Security Directors, FBI, FEMA, DEA, import-export firms, international government officials, law enforcement associations, National Defence and the Canadian Forces, National Guard, Royal Canadian Mounted Police should come out. The Royal Canadian Air Force should be there. Public Safety Canada, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice. Might as well get the Department of Transportation in there. Invite all the U.S. Marshals, the Navy, and we can show off all this excellent technology that we're going to use to police the North American Union. The U.S.-Canada Border Conference is the only major conference and expo fully addressing the Beyond the Border Declaration between the U.S. and Canada, aimed at improving economic competitiveness while advancing border security between the two countries. Tap into billions of dollars being invested by the U.S. and Canadian governments for equipment, products, and services over the next several years. So if you're a new upstart security firm and you have the killer North American Union app, you should come out to the September 12th and 13th U.S.-Canada Border Conference and show them what you got. You too can have that big, fat, juicy government contract using your technology to track and monitor our asses everywhere we go in North America. This is serious stuff, folks. We're talking about the harmonization and the deep integration of Canada, United States, and Mexico, which is a direct threat to our national sovereignty. This is placing the national security of Canada into the hands of a foreign nation, and vice versa. Prime Minister Stephen Harper and Obama claim that this will not affect our national sovereignty. Yet, they fail to explain how integrating and harmonizing our laws and rules and regulations will maintain our ability to self-govern in the best interests of our own people. For example, if Canada decides to take a different route in our national security objectives than what we have currently signed up with the United States, we will now have to go back to the United States and ask them to excuse us from certain provisions in the Beyond the Border agreement that we've already signed. With open borders via the creation of a common security perimeter around the whole of North America and the dissolution of our internal borders, how does Canada possibly think that they're going to be able to maintain any kind of difference in immigration policy, laws, and standards than the United States? So this clearly affects our national sovereignty, and all Canadians should be very concerned as to what's going on and what they're working on in the background. These are fundamental changes that are happening right before our very eyes. They're doing their best to keep them covered up. However, they still have an obligation to make them semi-public, at least to say that they inform the public of what they were doing, and the public should have known what they were doing. So we must ask ourselves, Is this all worth giving up our fundamental rights and freedoms? Is this all worth sacrificing our Constitution? Putting our national sovereignty in jeopardy? Putting our national security in the hands of a foreign nation? Is it worth it for a little bit of economic prosperity that will probably be short-lived? Will these sacrifices result in actual economic prosperity for the people, for the general public, or only for the corporations and the globalists? And how long will it be till they're not satisfied with this merger, until they push us into the next merger, which we all know is leading us down the path to global government? Because you can be sure that North American Union is a stepping stone to one world government. I'm going to leave you with a quote by Benjamin Franklin, where he said something to the effect of, "Any society that will give up a little liberty to gain a little security will deserve neither and lose both." Something to think about. Thanks for watching.